Good evening. A quorum being present, the May 23rd meeting of the Board of Trustees, Pasadena Area Community College will come to order. Ms. Thompson, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Fellow?
Here.
Mr. Osterling?
Here.
Mr. Hilsman?
Here.
Ms. Brown? Here. Mr. Martin? Here. Dr. Selvage?
Here.
Ms. Wah?
Here.
Ms. Ekshian?
Here.
And our student trustee, Emily, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Emily. Tonight, I'm going to call for approval of the ordering of the agenda. Item number 18, selection of superintendent president search firm, will be pulled this evening. There will be a special meeting, an open meeting on June 1st on Friday, in which we'll be interviewing search firms, and you're welcome to come at that time. It will be in the President's Conference Room beginning at 8:30 on Friday, June 1st.
I was going to ask that we move the presentation by Ms. Salvatore Scumo, item I1, to right before we get into action items.
Okay. So one item has been pulled, and then one item moved to before the action items, item number 1. If that is okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion by Mr. Osterling, a second by Ms. Wah. Any comments?
No.
Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. This is the time for introductions and recognitions. Do we have any this evening?
Well, I do notice in the audience, the executive director of the foundation, Ms. Bobby Abram, the president of the foundation, Mr. Jim Sarney, and two more executive board members, Jim and Lonnie.
Is there any other introductions or recognitions this evening? Thank you. This is the time for public comments on non-agenda items.
Yes, we have 4 comments tonight. Let me first call Amber Lipsy, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Amber Lipsy. I'm the editor-in-chief of the PCC Courier here on campus. As most people are aware, there were some concerns from the campus community and the academic senate over the handling of the superintendent presidential search. Ultimately, the singular candidate who was left withdrew from consideration, and the board is obviously in the process of starting over again to find a replacement for Dr. Verdian. As a student here and a member of the student media specifically, I have to raise a concern. After the academic senate voted to draft a letter to the board demanding a failed search, I reached out to board president Dr. Fellow requesting comment on these actions, and I did not receive a response. After Dr. Davis withdrew from consideration, I reached out for comment again, including all of the board members in follow-up emails, and I still received no response. I then sent another follow-up email to all board members reminding them of my previous request. As of this moment, I've sent out 3 emails requesting a comment about what happened with the presidential search to the board, and I received no response. Separately, I also emailed Dr. Selvage 3 separate times requesting comment about his election campaign with regards to the upcoming election in June. I did not receive a response from him either. This is concerning to me as a member of the campus student media, and I wanted to take this time to remind everyone that as elected officials and paid public servants, the board has a responsibility to answer to the community for their actions, especially issues that affect the campus. When the board contracts a consulting firm for $70,000 that ends in a failed search and then has to hire another firm for a new search, I think the community deserves an explanation from the board. Refusing to respond to requests doesn't make the issue go away. And furthermore, as a student at PCC, our campus newspaper is the stepping stone for all of us who are learning how to be professional journalists. As such, we cannot learn and grow if our public officials on campus refuse to respond to our requests for comment regarding campus issues. I hope that going forward, the campus community can expect more transparency from the board. Many misgivings were vocalized from students, faculty, and staff about the board's action regarding the presidential search. And if the board has any interest in quelling some of these concerns from the community, I think transparency should be the first step. Thank you.
I usually don't respond to comments, but having been a professional journalist for 10 years, I'm very open. But the problem is I'm not receiving any Pasadena.com emails. And some of the trustees I commented to, I said, why don't they talk to me? So see me after, and I will give you, call
Absolutely.
me. Okay?
Thank you.
But I, for some reason, I am not receiving any of my Pasadena.com emails.
All right.
So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah.
Mr. President, I'm going to ask our interim director of IT, Mr. Matt Cameron, to work with all board members to ensure that their pasadena.edu emails are transferred directly to the personal emails that most of the board members use, so that there is a smooth transition and that the email is automatically sent to the board members' personal emails. And I know a couple of you already have that in place, and we'll make it for everybody. Mr. Matt Cameron? Thank you.
Yeah. And please see me after, and I'll give you my cell number, and you can call me. I don't sleep, so night or day is fine.
And I'm just going to make one comment. I did reply to Nick Torani from the
Yes.
Courier.
I replied to Nick also.
I
So
also applied to
I
Nick.
did reply on that one. And wouldn't
So
have
did I.
anything extra I could tell you that I didn't tell him.
Right.
So, and his answer to me back, by the way, was thanks so much for your quick response.
The next comment will be from Tara Agani.
Hello everyone, my name is Tara Gahi and I'm a member of the student government on campus. I am the Vice President for Sustainability, and I just wanted to draw your attention to an event I'm having on June 7th and cordially invite everyone from the Board of Trustees and in the audience to come. It is a Lancer Talk, similar to a TED Talk, where we will be discussing sustainable topics. We will have 3 student speakers, in addition to a PCC professor, a UCLA professor, and the woman who brought the first urban turbine to North America. It will be June 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. That is a Thursday afternoon. We will be raffling off prizes such as a hydro flask, a Veggie Grill gift card, reusable smoothie straws, and reusable utensils. It would mean a lot if everyone could come and show support in our community for this event that myself, my committee, and the rest of the board have been working very hard on. Thank you for your time.
So June
and
7th at what time?
June 7th from 6 to 8:30. I believe there is a flyer that they said would be passed around the board.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next comment is from Danny Donabarian.
Good evening. My name is Danny Donabedian. I'm the chairperson of the Armenian National Committee, Pasadena Chapter. I'd like to thank you all for inviting us over tonight. I'm here for the Armenian Genocide Resolution. That's item H1 on your agenda tonight. President Fellow, Vice President Osterling, Honorable Board of Trustees members, honored guests, 19th century reforming minister and abolitionist Theodore Parker, and 20th century civil rights movement leader and Baptist minister Dr. Martin Luther King both said the following words: "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." Doubtless to say, both were the most noble of men. Today, as in years past, the Venerable Board of Trustees of Pasadena City College have come through in recognizing the Armenian genocide and pay homage to the 1.5 million victims of the depraved crimes committed by the Ottoman Turks in 1915, whose unspeakable acts have yet to be accounted for. As Armenians around the world commemorate the 103rd anniversary of the Armenian genocide, you've stood by us in solidarity by issuing the Armenian Genocide Resolution, an affirmation that Pasadena City College condemns the atrocities that were perpetrated against innocent human beings, in this case the Armenians, at least to us, by the scourge of humanity, the Turks. It is time steps were taken by the world's community of powers to rectify the aberration, the mistakes, and the iniquities of the past, which caused humanity to deviate from its path of righteousness, precipitating a degradation in its conscience, and which then proceeded to propel it into irretrievable ruin. For far too long, the world has shamefully sat back and neglected to resolve the epic miscarriage of justice that is the Armenian genocide. For as long as this genocide remains unresolved, and history fails to correct the heinous misdeeds of the Turks, the depravity of whom caused untold pain and suffering upon the Armenian nation, the stain of evil and shame will be engraved permanently on humanity's legacy. The struggle against genocide and human rights atrocities is still present and prevalent today. Now, as in the past, the world is experiencing a contentious political climate where genocide is rife and subversive ideological strife commonplace. Genocides that have taken place in recent history have yet to teach us a lesson in humanity's enduring willingness to commit evil and inability to live in peace. In retrospect, hope is always there in perpetuity for a better and peaceful tomorrow. On behalf of the Armenian National Committee of America Pasadena chapter, I would like to thank and pay tribute to this dais for its preeminent and unwavering commitment in standing by the Armenian American community in its fight to seek truth and justice always. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have an additional comment that we're going to hold off on to until the agenda item, the relevant agenda item. That would be Mark Whitworth. Thank you.
That's it?
Yes.
Before we move on to some action items, we have some recognitions, and Dr. Verdeen,
We have two recognitions, and
you may come. The first, we want to congratulate the women's badminton team and head coach Jennifer Ho on their back-to-back state champions achieved on May 10th, 2018, after PCC defeated Fresno State 16-5. That's a crushing defeat. Do you have somebody?
Obviously, I'm not Coach Jennifer Ho. And first of all, good evening. And thank you for having these wonderful young women represent our institution in front of you tonight. First of all, on behalf of Coach Ho, who is on the East Coast, welcoming her nephew into the medical field as he graduates from Duke University. So she's not here tonight. She expresses her gratitude, her thanks, and it's an honor for her to bring these young women in front of you again tonight. One thing I want to share is the 3C2A has started a new tradition. It's never happened before till this year. They started giving championship banners that will hang in perpetuity. Here you go. And you will demonstrate that. Oh, excuse me, Dr. Rudy.
Get out.
This will represent us and our institution for a lifetime. I've asked Praline Bonifacio, who's our assistant coach, to introduce the young women that represented you tonight. And again, our state badminton champions for the second consecutive year. I was just telling Dr. Juni,
To go there?
I think it was a famous coach that said the true mark of a champion is one that repeats. And this team has indeed repeated the state championship. Small correction, we did not beat Fresno State, we beat Fresno City, but we're ready for Fresno State. So Dee, if you would introduce our young women, please.
I would like to introduce you guys, the girls of the 2018 PCC Women's Badminton team, starting with Grace Bahar, Michaela Rumeko, Amy Wang, Jessica Lee, Quinn Trin, Natalie Ong, Pinky Chung, Xiao Ming Yao, and Asiana Pitako.
Thank you again.
Okay, the second recognition, I'm very pleased because it's in honor of our student trustee, Emily Eckerson, the student trustee from 2017 to 2018. In recognition of her leadership, commitment, and dedication to the students of Pasadena City College, presented this 23rd day of May 2018 by the Board of the Pasadena Area Community College District, signed by myself and Dr. Brian. And it's been a pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you so much, likewise.
Come on up.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. I am very honored that I had the opportunity to serve as the student voice on the Board of Trustees and serve as a member of the Associated Students Board here at PCC. I'm thankful to all the students who voted for me and who trusted me with the responsibility to represent them on the board. I would like to thank all the trustees for guiding and mentoring me throughout the process and inspiring me to continue my leadership at my transfer institution, which is UC Berkeley. And each of you, thank you. Each of you have had a special influence on my career goals and aspirations. Thank you so much.
You know you have one more board meeting.
I know. Excited, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
You took the wrong chair there. That was
Oh, excuse me.
Premature there.
Sorry. Yes.
Would the trustees mind, since we have our guest in the audience, if we take up first action item dealing with the resolution?
Yes, let's do that. So I move to reorder the agenda item to bring the resolution up now.
Is that, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Everyone unanimous. Okay, so our first action item today is under H is to adopt Resolution 586 in commemoration of the 103rd anniversary of the Armenian Genocide, April 2018.
I'm proud to move approval.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion from Mr. Hilsman, a second from Ms. Brown. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. So thank you for being here. And okay. Now, we've had a lot of meetings. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes that have to be approved individually. So we'll take the approval of minutes for the regular meeting of April 4th, 2018. Is there any corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, second from Mr. Hoyt.
Hilsman?
Hilsman. Further discussion?
I'm gonna abstain.
Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries unanimously. The second is the approval of minutes for the special meeting April 7th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Osterling.
Second by Ms.
Second from
Brown.
Ms. Brown. Further discussion?
Yeah, just, I'm sorry,
I wasn't there.
I'm checking, okay, yeah. There's one of these I know I missed, that one you called at the last minute, but not that one, okay.
That one? Okay. Student trustee?
I abstain. I wasn't present at the special meeting.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries with one abstention from the student trustee. The next is a special meeting of April 8th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion from Mr. Osterling, a second from Mr. Hilsman. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Abstain.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously with student trustee abstaining. The next minutes are the special meeting of April 19th, 2018.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously with student trustee in the affirmative. And finally, the final special meeting, May 4th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Brown, a second from Ms. Hua. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Abstain.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously with the student trustee abstaining. Okay, now we're going to go through a series of consent items, and the first deal with students. The wishes of the trustees.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Hilsman, a second from Ms. Waugh. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The second group of consent items deal with instruction. Wishes of the directors?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next group of consent items deal with business matters.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Brown, a second from Mr. Hilsman. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I just wanted to, before we leave, make a comment that these consent items include some funding for the Pasadena City College Foundation, and I wanted to commend their work in the capital campaign that's ongoing with Dr. Scott leading the campaign. You may be seeing his billboards around town at the Paseo and otherwise. They're making great progress, and it's thanks to the leadership of Bobby Abram, who's the executive director, Jim Sarney, who's the president, and our couple of board members here, Bill Hawkins and Lonnie Shields. So I want to commend the PCC Foundation, to which I'm the liaison, for their hard work and success.
Thank you. The next group deals with personnel items. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, second from Mr. Osterling. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. I do want to point out this evening, I think it's always important when we look at retirements, and certainly we have a lot of staff and faculty with a great many years. Supriyo Banerjee from Business Engineering and Technology, 17 years. Joanne Busco, a college health nurse and student health services, 21.5 years. Janice Dwyer, counselor, who's retiring after 33 years of service. Harry Bloodgood, I think we already mentioned him, but after 38 years of service. Edward Glossick, our gardener in facilities and construction services, 24 years. And then with classified, Yolanda De La Fuente, lead student placement interviewer, 39 years of service. Patricia Gonzalez, immediate clerk number 2 at the Community Education Center, 12 years of service. Yasmin Yukio, human resources technician, 34 years of service. And finally, Jeffrey Lawn, database administrator, information technology services, 40 years of service. So congratulations, and we thank them for their years of service.
Say something? thing about
Sure.
Mr. Jeff Lawn. Little fact about Mr. Jeff Lawn is that he has jumped from an airplane more than 1,800 times.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
That is amazing.
Thank you so much.
3,000 times.
Oh, 3,000, I'm sorry.
Wow, that's a lot.
Wow. But who's counting?
But we did pass the resolution for the Armenian genocide, and the board would like to take a picture with you. Can we do that right now?
Sure.
So come on, so we don't want to keep you.
The board.
I will come over here.
That's right. You're sitting there.
Good to see you. Congratulations. Yeah. How are you?
Congratulations.
Hey, how are you?
You guys should come.
Come in front. Yeah, come in the middle here.
You guys could come right in the middle. Still, sir? Sure. You'll be right in the front.
Right.
Right in the front.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Emily can go in the front row.
Yeah, Emily should be in the front row.
You need to be over there.
Oh, you will? Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It means a lot, thanks for
I want to go to Armenia.
Terry spent 2 weeks in there.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to our second action item, which is a very important action item. The first is a public hearing and adoption of fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative budget, and we'll have the presentation first, then it will open the public hearing, then close it, and then the board will vote.
Oh, yes, we moved
Okay,
the,
we'll move up the strong workforce first. We can spend time with the budget. These agendas keep changing.
Yeah, that's
we'll spare Salvatrice from suffering through the budget.
we're doing strong workforce.
Good evening. It brings me much pleasure to stand here before you to showcase our Strong Workforce Program and its successes thus far. In this presentation, we'll be reviewing the funding model and the incentive funding calculations with our local distribution. We'll focus on looking at some of the programs, 6 in particular, and sharing what their current metrics and LMIs are. And then we'll conclude with our star recognition and Q&A. The funding model overview. The funding model is broken down into 4 outcome variables: unemployment rate, proportion to CTE FTEs, projected job openings, and successful workforce outcomes. For this presentation, I will focus on one of the variables our institution has influence on, which is successful workforce outcomes. That equates to 17% of our incentive funding. There are very specific metrics that we are measured upon to receive the 17% incentive funding, and that's course enrollment, credential attainment, transfer, employment, and median earnings. The 17% incentive funding is based on a point system. We receive a point for every CTE student who achieves one or more of the following metrics. Following this roadmap, students who make progress within a program, earn a certificate or degree, transfer to a four-year institution, secure employment, and achieve positive earning outcomes. Extra points are awarded for economically disadvantaged students who attain these outcomes. The formula is then points for all CTA programs at all community colleges are totaled to create a statewide sum. That statewide sum is then divided by the amount allocated for our 17% local share, which creates a value per point. That value per point is then multiplied by the number of points each college receives, which determines their allocation. Our allocation for 17-18 on the incentive funding was $260,393. These are the programs that are currently funded in our Round 2 Strong Workforce program. Tonight, we'll be highlighting these 6. I'd like to point your attention to our funding allocation. Round 1, we had we were allocated 1.4 million. Same amount, slightly less for round 2. However, we received our 17% allocation of 260,000, which gave us a grand total of 1.67. I'd like to begin with construction inspection. As I said, we're going to highlight 5 or 6 of our programs, show you some of the labor market data, as well as what our current metrics are, and so you can see the progress. I'd like to note that the data is aggregated by launch board. So according to our labor market indicator, our LMI, currently, as we speak, in the LA region, there are 107 openings in construction inspection. However, there are only 17 graduates that are available at this moment to meet that 107 demand, with a median hourly wage of $39. The graph below shows PCC's outcomes pre and post Strong Workforce Round 1. So for this instance, you'll see a growth in our course enrollments, meeting our goal. You'll notice that there's a 79% of our students who exit this program receive employment 2 quarters after completion, with a median earnings of $12,678. I'd like to also note that in the column of 2016-2017, which is our round 1 of the Strong Workforce, you'll notice that some data is not available. That's because post-college outcomes are not calculated until 18 months after the end of the academic year. Therefore, we may not see some of the data is just simply not available at the moment. Biotechnology, biomedical technology. According to our LMI, there are 909 job openings at the moment, with only 38 graduates who can fulfill that demand. We saw a nice increase in our course enrollments meeting our goal. 73% of our students who complete gain employment 2 quarters after completion, and their median earnings per quarter are $9,665. Business information technology. 2,528 openings in the LA area, with only 431 graduates available to fulfill that. We saw a slight increase in our course enrollments, meeting our goal. There was a transfer rate of 99 of our students. 70% of our students gain employment after exiting, with a median earnings per quarter of $7,105. Emergency medical technician. According to the LMI, there's 235 openings with 185 qualified graduates who can fulfill that demand. Here we saw a healthy increase in our course enrollments from pre and post Strong Workforce, with the transfer of 50 of our students who did so. 66% of our students who complete gain employment 2 quarters after, with median earnings of $6,878 per quarter. Advanced manufacturing and advanced technology. Another one of our growth programs, currently 5,800 job openings with median hourly wages of between $12 and $50 an hour. However, only 1,600 graduates are available at the moment to fulfill that demand. We did see a nice increase in our course enrollments. We also saw an increase in those students who earned a degree or certificate pre and post Strong Workforce Round 1. We know that 72% of our students who complete receive employment 2 quarters after exiting, and their median earnings are $6,292. Graphic art and design. One sector that is growing rapidly at the moment, and a program that is also growing rapidly. LMI tells us that there are 952 job openings at the moment, with only 131 graduates available. We saw a nice increase and healthy increase in our course enrollments here as well, transfers of 65, and 58 of our students who completed this program were employed shortly thereafter. Median earnings of $4,605. A more detailed look at the data around the Strong Workforce programs can be found on our website under the Office of Institutional Effectiveness, but also included in your packet, you'll have a detailed look at all 72 CTE programs and its outcomes. Also included in the packet is a detailed look at the incentive funding calculation report. And you'll have 3 reports from the Center of Competitive Workforce, one that takes a look at the overall industry of LA and the current supply and demand, as well as very specific to the healthcare and digital media. Naturally, this presentation would not be complete without recognizing our career programs who receive STAR programs, STAR recognition from the Chancellor's office. These programs achieved 1 or more of the student success goals, which are increase in earnings, living wage attainment, and employed in the field of study. Our Bronze Stars. They earned 1 of the 3 student success goals. Our Silver Stars, construction inspection and dental hygiene, earned 2 of the 3 student success goals. And our Gold Stars, radiologic technology and registered nursing, accomplished 3 of the 3 metrics for our student success goals. We're incredibly proud of the hard work of our deans and faculties in these programs. Thank you. I'm happy to accept any questions at this time.
That's outstanding information. Is there any comments? Ms. Watt?
So I want to thank you for this information. It's really great and it's really timely. I just came back from the Strong Workforce meeting up in Sacramento this morning. So I think we should be telling all of our community this kind of information. I think there is still, I think our messaging still needs to get better. I think that we still need to do a lot more outreach in our communities. I think we heard some rhetoric where we still see that there's a bifurcation of CTE versus academic, and really the pathways converge. It's just another way to get to where we should be, which is education should be the key to increasing the social mobility and the good wages and good professional jobs that all of our students hope to get. I don't think anybody is just paying for college just to have a degree and not be able to see some outcome from this. So I was really glad to know that we had all these stars, because when I was up there, I didn't know that these were our programs that were in stars. So I did ask Dr. Verdian to send out some of the information, and I didn't realize the whole drive got sent out. But I wanted to, if you all have a chance to go through some of the documents, and I call these out to Salvatrice. There were 2 that we had some substantial discussion today about. One is on PLA, which is prior learning credit. And so there's a big initiative now to really push to see how we can give our students credit for their work in the field. So we have many veterans who have had substantial experience but aren't given credit, and it's done, and if they are given credit, I guess it's done in not a very uniform way. It may be accepted by one institution versus another. You know, one of the examples that one of the actually from the Academic Senate, gave was her sister was a veterinarian, but she was a veterinarian technician, and so she really just needed 2 courses to get her a certificate or a degree, I guess, from the community college, but because they weren't giving her any recognition for her prior learning experience, she would have had to go back and take the whole course, you know, all of the courses again, just to get this degree or this certificate, when in fact, if she had only taken 2 more courses, she probably could have ended up teaching the course. So, you know, those are things I think that we need to recognize, and some of the information that you'll see on that PLA report come from CALE, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but they look at, they've looked at institutions all over the country, and they look at how this, being able to get this prior credit helps shorten the stay of our students in college towards their degree, and so it increases their persistence. So there, anyway, there was, I think there were some really interesting things that, and statistics that came out of that, so I hope you have a chance to see that. And then it's also something maybe for us to think about in Strong Workforce. How do we look at giving some credit for those prior experiences? So thank you very much for this.
You're welcome.
And I also wanted to thank you for stepping in. So one of the things we're doing in the community, and Trustee Osterling is part of this, the Rotaries are partnering with the Chambers of Commerce, and we have the PCC Strong Workforce, and there will be a career job fair on June 19th over here just on Green Street at the Foothill Workforce Center, but it's specific industries that actually have jobs for the students. So I think, or for the people who come, and so we'll have a chance to then come in, the community will come in and help mentor these job applicants, and also we'll have discussions on the internships, which I think I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say that, but I still think it's a huge key to our students' success. So one other question I did have to ask you, though, is how are our students getting placed? Are we actually taking a role in that? Or are we depending on a third party to do this in jobs?
How are they getting placed?
How are they getting placed in jobs? So once they get these certificates, once they go through these pathways?
Well, currently at the moment, our institution does not have a placement program, but what Launch Board is doing for us is really tracking their journey, and so that once they exit the program, a CTE survey is sent out along with other data that's being pushed into Launch Board from our Chancellor's office to showcase to us how and when are these folks getting placed and at how much they're getting placed. But there's not necessarily a mechanism at the current moment that can do that for us. With our new redesign and redevelopment of our Career and Completion Center, that will be one of the services and programs that we'll be able to do through that.
So I hope that is something that we find a partnership in. We
That's
can
right.
certainly
That's right.
Depend on someone like the Workforce Development Boards,
Yes.
the WIBs, which was always, I think, the intention of Strong Workforce. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Very true.
anyway, I just congratulate you that we are moving this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. So yeah, I have a couple of questions. First,
Yes.
would like to go back to, for instance, the construction inspection,
Sure.
your chart there. Okay, so in 2016-17, we had 355 course enrollments, correct?
Correct.
And the students who earn a degree or certificate, was that 11?
Correct.
So my question is, what happened and how is it that, yeah, well, that is of concern. What are we doing to change that? That's the
Yes.
question.
Let me ask Dr. Juni to answer that. That falls under his purview.
Sure. So I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking about the dip in the number of certificates?
Yeah, I'm trying to see why only 11 students obtain a certificate.
Where we had 16 the year before.
Say that again? Oh, wow.
At 16 the year before, right.
Congratulations.
Right, so there's a couple of things. You know, obviously, these enrollments are in multiple classes, so there's more than one class that they have to do to complete this. And so some of the variables that come to play is, are they full-time students, are they part-time students, how many classes basically are they taking for a semester? So that number is gonna kind of go up and down as you look from year to year. It's somewhat cyclic. The mention of the redesign of our Career and Completion Center, that also is part of what we will have there. We already have CTE counselors, but the idea is to make those more available to students, to help them be taking the right classes for completion so that those numbers will be on an upward swing as opposed to this kind of up and down cyclic nature.
So let me follow up, because my idea, and I'm probably wrong, but my idea why a student will choose CTE is to
Got the certificate.
Get a job.
and get a job.
Right.
So if I'm enrolled in a CTE program and I'm not completing it, therefore I'm not getting a job, what would be the benefit going there other than just be open? Because my big thing is that I would like to see our students get in, get out, and get paid.
Right, and so there's a couple of parts to the answer to that
Okay.
question. And some of this will get to some of the comments that Trustee Waugh said as well. What I would say the biggest issue is providing the students the support to identify where they can get the job and then helping them identify those jobs. And in programs that do really well at that, like registered nursing and rad tech, the reason those students are getting employed as quickly as they are is because of work-based learning. They're doing externships, so they're actually working in hospitals, and thus the hospitals know of them and basically offer them a job by the time they graduate. That's not always the case in programs like construction inspection, but those are the things that we want to do in regard to increasing the number of work-based learning opportunities that we have, whether they're internships or job shadowing or things of that nature, is to make better connections with the industries in our area so that our students are actually in those locations, interacting with those businesses and industries while they're here, so that when they graduate, the industry knows of them already and they're offering them jobs. And so for us to do better in programs like construction inspection that has fairly small numbers is we need to increase our connection with the industry partners so that they're aware of our graduates and actually get the graduates doing internships or other forms of work-based learning before they graduate so that the employer already knows about them and offers our jobs. And so as we further develop that, and what Salvatrice didn't mention is besides the redesign of the Career Completion Center, we also are part of a work-based learning project that's a statewide project to help us do that. And so we have funding on that, and we have people that are working on that. And so I expect that you will start seeing an upward shift in many of these career technical education programs in regard to students getting jobs as they complete, as well as completing their certificates.
So just one more question. Okay, so we didn't get the jobs. So how long does it take for a student, we're a two-year college, how long would it take for a student to get a certificate? Let's say in emergency medical technician.
So
Just something that simple.
Right.
How long would it take?
So I'm not going to answer right yet specifically EMT, but basically that will be different for each program because of the number of courses that are necessary to complete. And so EMT actually is a fairly small certificate, so it doesn't take very long. And so that's pretty quick that they'll finish that program maybe in a semester, maybe 2 semesters, because it's a small program in regard to the number of units that they have to have. Some of the others are, they have to take more classes, and so how long it takes will depend in part on the student. Are they a full-time student or a part-time student? So how many classes are they taking? But the answer to your question is it can take anywhere from 1 semester to 2 years, depending on how many classes the student takes each semester and depending on the number of classes that are required for that particular certificate.
Thank you.
Sure. If I could just comment on some of Trustee Wah's questions. So one of the things that you should know is that Pasadena City College is moving in the direction of no longer using CTE. We're shifting towards saying career education. And part of that is because, in fact, if you're here majoring in an area that is not CTE because it doesn't have the right top code, you are probably have a career in mind and would like some assistance in that. And so our Career and Completion Center is not just for CTE students, it will be for all students. And we will be working on helping students complete, whether they're getting an associate degree in a STEM area or a current CTE area or a non-STEM area, history or whatever. We will be helping them determine what are the jobs they can get, whether they can get that right out of PCC or do they have to transfer to get a bachelor's degree. And so the whole idea of that is to stop grouping them in categories CTE, non-CTE, and basically just help them all as they move toward the career that they desire.
That's great, yeah. I do think that words matter in this case, and I think that there is misperception by some communities that all of a sudden we're steering kids away from college, but it's just another path to get to a job maybe sooner, but creating this lifelong learning, so thank you.
I'd also like to add, just to piggyback on what Dr. Ginny mentioned, is on top of the Career and Completion Center and the work-based learning pilot that we're a part of with the Chancellor's office, something that really would help us, one of the projects that's going to help us really increase our certifications and completion is centralizing centralizing the certification and completion process to really streamline it. Will help in some of those numbers as well. We're also a part of our regional consortium. We are also part of a regional project for cooperative work experience. So that too is centralizing internships and work-based learning activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Emily?
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was just wondering whether there is some sort of reaching out to students when we notice such a kind of drastic decrease in number of receiving certificates, degrees. Is there some type of getting in touch with the student, understanding what happened?
So, go ahead, Dr. Ginny.
Sure. So a couple of things that are happening. We are becoming better and doing more regularly, reaching out to students. Okay. And so a big part of that is looking at students that are need one more class to complete, and or even students that were here in the fall but they're not here in the spring. And so we're reaching out to both those types of students to basically encourage them to come back, take the class they need to finish. We will become more organized with that as the Career and Completion Center gets up and running because we will be tracking it a little bit better. But we're already, we're doing that, and that's part of the partnership between instruction and student services is because student services is the one that are basically sending text messages, emails to those students to try to encourage them to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned some of the factors that kind of hinder students from continuing to receive their degree, but what were the main kind of trends that you noticed across all the CTE fields?
So what I would say, the issues really are, we always say life happens. I mean, it's financial aspects. It's the need to take care of a family member or your family. They're so it's really a lot of different things. Another one, which is kind of ironic when we talk about what this is about, is helping our students get jobs. But that actually, when the economy is good and there's work out there, which is true right now, they work instead of going to school. Okay. And so oftentimes what happens why they stop going to school is because they have a job, they don't need to come back here, although it would be better for them to come back here because they can get a better job, a more high-paying job, but when they have work, students tend not to come to their local community college.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just comment on a couple other things that Trustee Wah brought up. First of all, just so you know, CALE stands for Council for Adult and
Right.
Experiential Learning. And we are actually in conversations about developing that and having a better process here to provide that. And a big driving force for that is to better serve our veterans. But it's true also for others who have that sort of learning. The example you gave is a perfect example of that. And so right now, we don't do it as well as we should, but we are working on that so that we will be doing it better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ostrow.
I too want to thank you for the presentation, Salvatrice, and in particular, I'm pleased to see that we're focusing on the pink and the blue and focusing on areas where the demand for the qualified workers exceeds the supply. And lastly, I just want to also reinforce Trustee Wah's request that we develop a placement capability for our graduates. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you.
Mr. Martin.
Well, I want to thank you,
You're welcome.
and I want to strongly echo what the two trustees just said about a placement office. First off, I'm a little partial because I can think back to my days here at PCC, walking through the C building and looking at the little blue slips up on the wall, which was the forerunner of Indeed.com, I'm sure, and finding those summer employments.
Sure.
But recently experiencing graduates in the family from institutions that basically top graduates and they have no support from their institution. And if you ask me, should I go to this school, I would say no. They'll provide you a great education, but what is it if they don't have a placement office?
Correct.
You go to SC, you come out of SC, it might cost you an arm and a leg, but you know that they are going to place you, and that's why you go.
That's right.
And it's worth it for that. Now, yesterday we're in a Budget and Audit Committee meeting, and we're looking and making long-term projections for this institution. And one of the concerns on the horizon, it's not news, is the demographics of LA County is such that those who are most inclined to be attending community college, that population will be diminishing in the next few years. And as that happens, as is happening to our K-12s now, there's going to be an increased competition, I hate to say, but competition amongst institutions for students.
That's right.
And students are going to vote with their feet, and they're going to go to the institutions that have the capability of landing them, like SC, into a job.
That's right.
I can't think of any better thing that we should be renowned for at PCC, but a placement office. I want to be the SC of community colleges.
Right.
You go to PCC, they got a placement office, they're going to find you a job. I love your connection with the interns and doing it, that's a natural, but we need a place, and it's going to cost us some money, but we need a place so that these students know their support, that we're not just giving them a great education and a piece of paper, but we're giving them a job.
Right.
And we're out there working the streets to get them a job, because that's what it's all about. And when that happens and that reputation gets out there, it doesn't matter what the demographics are, you won't be able to hold them back.
And we're really looking
So-
forward to our Career and Completion Center being a model for the state. Currently, the
Absolutely.
state does not have that model, and so we're really looking forward to
So
building that.
I'm at the place where next time we talk about board goals, I'd like to consider as one of our strategic directions, support for a placement center that says you come to PCC, we've got people to get you a job.
Thank you.
Agreed.
President Fell, could I just add a couple more things? So I think that I agree with Trustee Martin, I hope that PCC can be the USC in terms of, they have a strong alumni association, and their alums know that they can always go back to that school, they can depend on that professional network to help them. And I hope that that's what we would become. So one of the things we had talked about early on in Strong Workforce was having that continuous learning, and we just talked about this again today, and Kale actually talked about this. So we know there's this huge population of adults who will come back to school to do something, and so I think one of the things that could be helpful for us is, you know, we have a strong relationship with our four-year colleges. Cal State LA is one that I'm affiliated with. I hope that we will develop CTE pathways so that our students see that they don't just stop here, and that they will be able to continually get education and be able to increase their economic earning power and their career goals, their career laddering through continuous learning. So that's one of the things I think that we've talked about, even at Cal State LA, is will there be like a CTE pathway? And I thought we had already done that, but I guess we haven't started, or is that in the works, or?
We have established the connection with
Oh,
them.
okay, but haven't established the pathway yet. Is that?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have a meeting set up. I do believe we are bringing together the leaders of Cal State LA and Cal Poly Pomona and some other institutions on campus to establish that pathway, not only with CSU LA, but with some other four-year institutions as well.
Yeah, because I think that what we want to do is create that vision that you don't just stop at that job once you get it. So you may get those skill builder classes, you may get that certificate, but it's a continuous process, and it will help you throughout, you know, your lifetime. The other thing I wanted to point out to the trustees, and the things that the documents I sent out, I had Mary send out today, was we are now at Launch Board 5.0, and so the colleges have already fed in a lot of their workforce information that since they've received the funding, and so you'll be able to see significant connections that they have made between education and workforce. So, so much of that you'll see the data that Salvatrice has presented, but there'll be some additional information I think that you'll be really interested in. So I encourage you all to log in.
Thank you, John.
I know I'm off on a tirade now, so forgive me, but I'm going to take it one level further. So one of the companies that I'm associated with, we're doing a lot of hiring. And we're constantly working with staffing agencies and Indeed and ZipRecruiter and blah, 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 blah. And the number one value added you're looking for is somebody that knows the person they're sending you. That's the number one thing. So if in our placement office, we can work it out where there's teacher recommendations, or we can connect the faculty to part of the process, so somebody knows when I call PCC, I'm not just getting a body, and I'm not just getting a name like I get online through all these other things. I'm getting somebody that works with them who went through all these years, and they know who the winners and the losers are. They know the job capabilities. They know what I'm looking for, and they can deliver what I need, because it's inexpensive for an employer to get somebody, go through 2 weeks of training and say, this is not going anywhere, and start it all over again. And I see at some of the businesses we're working, we're just starting over and starting over and starting over. We're missing that value-added piece. I had this student for X number of hours. I know the way they think. This would be a fit for you, you know, that kind of thing. Okay. So we're sitting at this golden, I think, opportunity. We can use our quarterly newsletter to go out to promote job placement, and PCC alums, come on back and look to us. I mean, we're just right in the middle of really making this work and making a tremendous difference to so many people in this immediate area. So I'm really excited about what you're doing, obviously.
Thank you so much.
And I'm obviously really want to see this go to the next level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Dr. Verdi?
Let me reassure all of you that this is, although you are not seeing it, it is happening in many areas at the college. We are one of the few institutions in Southern California and the state where we have almost 100% placement in nursing, in the rad tech programs, in the dental programs. Automotive, let me give you an example. Automotive is an area where this whole region is saturated, okay? It's about 23% employment rate for graduates. Because of the connections that we have established in automotive, 67% of our graduates are being placed. This is because of the connections. We take the case of welding because of the connections we have. Our students are not even finishing the class. They are being dragged out of the classroom and given jobs. So, and it's the same thing in coding and programming, where through the help of our faculty and staff, this is happening. But we are not, if you want, broadcasting it to the world. But it is happening, and what we will be doing, as Ms. Como just mentioned, as Dr. Juni just mentioned, when we open officially the center, the Career Center, which will be in the Information Technology building right here, all this will be coordinated so that people coming on this campus will hear what you've been saying, what all of you have been saying. This is a brand name, this is what they've been doing, and when they leave this institution, they have a stamp of approval, the stamp of PCC on them. They've been vetted, they've been approved, and they can do the job successfully. We're doing it, and we're going to make it official very soon.
That's phenomenal.
I think this is has been an outstanding and important discussion, particularly at a time when the President of the United States is talking about career education, and hopefully he'll put some money into it. But I'd sure like to get PCC on his radar of an example of a school in the United States that's doing this.
I have asked all the lobbies that are trying to get our job that your only reason for getting the job of PCC is when the President of the United States, when the governor of the state, when any Google or Microsoft or Gates want a quote on community colleges, they call the president of the board of trustees of Pasadena Area Community College District, or they call the superintendent president of Pasadena City College. If they can guarantee us this, we will at that point work with their firm.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to our second action item today, and I will open the public hearing dealing with the adoption of the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative budget. Seeing no one who wants to speak, I will close the public hearing. Do we have a presentation on the budget?
Good evening. I'm pleased to present on the 2018-19 tentative budget. The presentation will cover the May revise as it relates to community colleges. We'll also take a look at the general fund budget here for PCC and also look at all of our fund budgets for fiscal year 2018-19. But before I begin, I just want to make a couple comments about the budget. The budget's a very strong budget where PCC's in a very good place. It's a balanced budget. Similar to the badminton team, it's back-to-back balanced budgets for PCC. And our general fund revenues are over almost $163 million. And our all funds budget, for all of our funds, our revenue is a little over $250 million. So very large material budgets that are very well managed. So with that, I'm going to start with looking at the May revise for ongoing budget items for community colleges. The first item is access. So 1% increase in budget for all community college system-wide, and that amounts to $60 million. For PCC, that means we have the opportunity to grow our FTS by 240, and that would equate to about $1.2 million. Included in the budget is also a cost of living adjustment of 2.71%, and for PCC that equates to $3.6 million of general fund revenues. There's also cost of living adjustment for our categorical programs, so that's benefiting those programs as well. There's support for the new funding formula of $175 million. The funding formula originally that came out in the January proposed budget called for 50% of funding to be allocated based on FTS, 25% based on completion, transfer, and another 25% based on socioeconomic factors within the areas that a district serves. With the May revise, the split changed to 60-20-20 of the same items. And we're still not clear where it's going to end up because the Senate rejected, the Senate in California rejected the May revise proposal. So we're in a holding pattern to see where it ends up. But with the original proposal, PCC was going to basically stay the same funding level. With what was announced in the May revise, we were set to grow about $2 million in revenue. So that would have been good if that happens. But we're waiting, and I'm keeping a close eye on that. But the $175 million system-wide is to provide funding for colleges who are receiving additional revenue, as PCC has the opportunity to, and also to provide funding to hold harmless districts that may dip as a result of the funding formula change. The next item is a new online college, $120 million for a new college. $20 million would be ongoing, and $100 million would be one-time startup costs for that. And there's also funding of $46 million for the Community College Promise Program, which replaces the Bog Waiver Program. Next slide shows restricted one-time funding. So there's $143 million for deferred maintenance instructional equipment projects. PCC would receive about $2.8 million, and those funds can be used over a 3-year period. And capital outlay, $50 million statewide for Proposition 51 bond projects, which includes the U-Building project. And the U-Building project is slated to receive full funding for the upcoming year, and that's working drawings. So the working drawings amount to $1.6 million, but we're still waiting to see if match will be required in the final budget, and we'll know for sure when the final budget's signed into law sometime around June 30th. Now, some cautions and concerns. Similar to last year, there's some cautions and concerns around the economy, political uncertainties with the election and for a new governor coming up. The economic uncertainties are, California's economy, the U.S. economy is very strong right now. In California, we have an all-time low unemployment rate of 4.3%. Nationwide, we have an unemployment rate of 4.1%. Revenues continue to flow at beating budget at the state level, and that ends up coming to education through Prop 98. For example, personal income tax is currently $2 billion at the state level, higher than originally budgeted this year. Corporate income tax is $1 billion higher than what was budgeted. But we're in the 9th year of a strong upswing in the economy, and we're getting, warnings from the Department of Finance that, the typical recovery doesn't last that long. We could be facing a downward trend in the near term. So it's just something to be aware of. STRS, PERS, escalations in contribution rates are increasing, and that has a direct impact on our general fund budget. You'll see STRS, for example, in 16-17, the rate was 12.58%. In 2021, that'll grow to 19%. So for every dollar in salary that we're paying in 2021, we'll be paying 19 cents for PERS STRS contributions. And the PERS is actually going up. It's going up to 23.5% by 2021. And what that means in dollars to our general fund is a $6 million annual increase from 2017-18 to 22-23. So between those years, the increase in annual expense as a result of PERS STRS contributions will grow by $6 million. So it's a huge increase. Another area of caution and concern is our other post-employment liability. And this is something that's growing, and we have a plan in place to help address this issue. We've worked over the past year setting up an irrevocable trust, and in one of the items recommended to the board later is to transfer funding into the irrevocable trust. And the benefit of the irrevocable trust is it provides a higher earning opportunity on the investment, and it also lowers our annual required contribution. So it reduces the draw on the general fund. So that's gonna help out. That's one of the reasons why that we're able to balance the budget for 17-18. Now taking a look at the tentative budget for 17-18, you'll see total revenues $162.8 million. The major component is state apportionment of 84% of that. And the next largest item is our non-resident tuition, which has been growing each year. It's currently projected for next year a little over $12 million. So that represents 7.5% of our total revenue. On the expense side, largest expense item is our salaries and benefits, and that is $142.5 million, or 87.5% of our total expenses. And 87.5 is actually a fairly good percentage to be at, considering the increases in PERS, STIRS contributions and health benefit increases that we've experienced. Our district has actually seen percentages a little bit above 90% in recent years. So to hold it down, 87.5% is a good position to be in. Major assumptions on the revenue side, major changes compared to 17-18 are apportionment, and that's going up $3 million. Non-resident tuitions going up $1.6 million. And then we have a decline in other revenue sources of $700,000. So the total increase is $3.9 million. On the expense side, we're seeing a 3.5% increase in total compensation. So that would include salary adjustments, increases in PERS, STIRS, and health benefits. General operating expenses we see going up $1.9 million, and our decrease in transfers to other funds of $2.8 million. And part of the decrease is a reduced draw for our OPEB liability as a result of the Irrevocable Trust. This slide shows the transfers, where the transfers are coming from, the general fund, and what funds they're going to. So we're drawing $3.1 million out of the general fund, and you'll see the various funds where those funds are going to. The largest two are our property self-insurance fund, $1.4 million, and our OPEB's self-insurance fund, $1 million. And this slide, it's a complete snapshot of all of the district's funds. Shows a beginning balance, income going into the fund, expenditures, transfers, net activity, and the projected ending balance. So the first item, Fund 01, is our general fund. You'll see it has a beginning balance of $26.5 million. It's a balanced budget, so the ending balance is the same at $26.5 million. And I wanted to make a note that $26.5 million puts our reserve balance at about 16.5%. Accreditation and Chancellor's Office recommendations are a minimum of 5%. Our internal target is 10%. So we're at 16.5%, which is a healthy place to be, but over the next 2 to 3 years, that percent's going to drop to 10% based on our current projections because of increases in expenses such as PERS, STIRS, and health benefits. You'll also note Fund 64 and 69, that's our OPEB self-insurance fund, and our PERS contingency fund. That's monies that we've set aside, net of transfers being recommended tonight to the Irrevocable Trust. So overall, it's a very healthy budget. It's a balanced budget, and I think the college is in a very good place. There's still challenges that we will be faced with, but careful planning will help us meet those challenges. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Dr. Story? Ms. Waugh?
So thank you. So I was up in Sacramento on Monday. We were doing the legislative rounds. So we had a chance to see the machinations of the new funding formula, the hold harmless clauses going now for 3 years. So I agree. I don't think that we should count our chickens until the actual budget gets signed. But once it gets signed, I think it would be really helpful for us, especially in our goal-setting meetings, that we have sort of a breakdown of how whatever we get, those funds would be spent under whatever funding formula. I mean, and I do hope that we would get something, because I think the current base allocation that we're trying to operate under has really not been helpful for us.
We will definitely have this presentation for the board as soon as the budget is passed by the legislature and signed by the governor towards the end of June. And we will get that for you either in July or in August, depending on how quickly we can have everything ready for the presentation.
That'd be great. And I think it should be hopefully part of our goal setting that we do with the college. So there were 3 major initiatives I think that we were really emphasizing when we were up there on Monday. One was the support of the funding formula. The other was the digital college. And I think that there's still a lot of questions that legislators had, but regarding how the digital college fits in with the OEI program. So whatever gets signed in on the budget, I think it would be really helpful to also have a future discussion on what we are doing in OEI and then how we are integrating that and how the populations that we serve would fit in under that new initiative. And then, and lastly, I'm pleased to see that we got some funding for the construction project. So we had a good conversation with the Department of Finance, and it looked like they were going to fund at least 6 of the projects. So, as we have said, until it actually gets signed, we don't know, but it looked very encouraging, and so I'm pleased to see that we might be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walton. Dr. Selvage?
That's yours.
Right, we had a Budget and Audit Committee meeting yesterday evening, and we went through the same presentation with Dr. Storti and some detailed figures for projections going out 5 years or so with a spreadsheet. And we're lucky. We've got a we're lucky because Dr. Storti and his staff is doing a great job. We're lucky we've got a balanced budget this year because of external factors that would affect this have broken the right way. But as Dr. Storti points out, over the long term, if you assume that our revenues and our expenditure line items, both categories, grow at approximately the same rate, even if that's the case, and we've got a balanced budget today, 5-6 years out, where you will have run through the comfortable cushion we've got on our general fund reserves, which make it possible for us to write checks that don't bounce. And then beyond that, it's sort of a question mark. Well, question mark like this. We don't know what kind of funding formula we're going to have even right now for next year, much less what it'll look like 5 or 6 years from now. So we've got the challenges of the long term, the reduction in the number of people who are our major age cohort that come here to PCC, LA County, age 18 to 30. That's going to decline by about 10%. It's not going to stay flat. It's not going to slowly decrease. Well, it'll get down about 10% below what it is right now in 2030. And that's not that far away right now. So we've got some real challenges with the number of students that are going to be enrolling in community colleges unless we do something to expand offerings, unless we think we could be successful bringing in students that aren't otherwise going to community colleges now. And then there's the funding formula and the excuse me, the level of increased contributions on CalPERS and STIRS. I don't think they're done making adjustments to those in the upward direction some years out, just because of the way I can read the numbers. So it's good news today for this year, but we can't assume that in 4 or 5 years we're not going to have some real significant challenges to maintain a sound footing.
Thank you, Dr. Selvage. Mr. Martin?
I'll just follow up with one simple comment that I think came out of the meeting for me yesterday. So as Trustee Selvage said, if all else is equal, just the PERS STIRS mean that in 4 to 5 years, in the year 22-23, we're going to need to pull $5 million back from the funds that we're putting in to break even. So we're putting 14 in here tonight, and obviously we hope it's going to grow, but if something else statewide doesn't change, 5 years from now, 1/3 of everything we're putting in, we're going to have to pull back just to have a break-even budget. But also, as he said, there's a lot of other moving parts between now and then, but it also gave me confidence that when there's 4 choices of portfolios to put it in and we picked the conservative one, the number one variable is how long are you putting it in for? If we had more confidence that we were going to put it in forever or for 15 years, we could put it in a very aggressive fund. But we obviously don't. So I appreciate the fact that their recommendation was for the conservative fund, because we may have to start with some rather large distributions
Yeah, I assume so.
sooner than we would have hoped.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Osterling?
Dr. Storti, thank you for the presentation, and I want to compliment you because community college budgeting is really, really complicated, and you always do a great job of making this understandable. So I for one, appreciate that. I have two questions on the slide we're on, slide number 9. Row 43 is scheduled maintenance, and I noticed that that amount is going down from 5 million to $1.2 million, and so that fund is being depleted significantly. And the question is, are we going to replenish that fund, or is this a very big catch-up in scheduled maintenance, and then the remaining reserve is still fine?
Very good question. Most of the funds are provided from the state specifically for scheduled maintenance, and we have a 3-year period in which we need to complete the projects, or we need to return the money to the state. So currently, we're at the final stage of completing a lot of those projects, and we will be receiving about $2.8 million in the upcoming year, and that can be used for either instructional equipment or scheduled maintenance, or a combination of both. So we will have some replenishment, but it's planned. The drawdown is planned due to completion of projects.
Okay, and thank you. And then my second question is row 69, other internal service fund per STRS. The amount in this balance is pretty low. I think I know the reason why, but I'd rather have you tell me why that is.
The amount reflected, 1.8 million, reflects a net transfer out to our irrevocable trust that's being recommended tonight in the amount of $4 million. So currently our balance is about 5.8 million, but we're recommending tonight that we transfer $4 million into the irrevocable trust.
And we would do that in this fiscal year, so that doesn't show up on this schedule?
That's
because
correct.
This schedule is next fiscal year.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osterling. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. So first of all, I want to, thank you, Dr. Storti, and your team for an outstanding job in preparing this budget. I was happy to be part of the committee yesterday, and I left feeling that PCC is not really doing bad. While we have a lot of challenges that we've already discussed about PERS and STRS, it is not unique to this institution, and I was pretty much comforted to hear that this administration is engaged in trying to find ways to mitigate the impact that we're going to be facing in the next 4 years. So I appreciate the work that and the efforts that you guys are doing, because you understand, just like we all understand, that it's going to take work, and I just wanted to commend you for a good job.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Any further discussion? Thank you, Dr. Storti.
Thank you.
The recommendation this evening is for the Board of Trustees to adopt the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative budget. The wishes of the trustees.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Wass, second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. The next item tonight is the approval to approve the Equal Employment Opportunity 9 multiple method model.
The state requires that the Board of Trustees approves this distribution as we have it here, and unless we approve it, we will not receive our funds that we receive from the state on an annual basis to ensure that we are doing what is necessary as per the state to meet our EEO requirements and progress in providing our students with the educational benefits of a diverse workforce. And you will have noticed in the model certification everything that we have to do as per the state that we are doing.
Thank you. The wishes of the trustees.
Move approval.
We have a motion
Second.
from Ms. Brown, a second from Ms. Waugh. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All
go
in
ahead.
favor? Ms. Waugh?
I did have a question. So Dr. Verdian, on the EEO, so I know that we have discussed in the past that there may be some areas where we need more representation from some of the subgroups to be reflective. Does that go under the equity plan, or does that go under the EEO plan? I guess
It goes in the EEO plan as well, as long as we are showing to the state that we are doing what we need to be doing and that we're following the various plans that we have at the college, then we receive the funding.
So I think that, so I know that we are submitting the report and we are
Yes.
following what we're required to do, but I think in order to really meet certain goals, and I guess those goals like we will establish when we have this goal setting meeting, but how do we ensure that the multiple measures that we are employing are actually moving the needle towards the goals that we are anticipating?
The state understands that there's no guarantee that by doing everything that we're doing that the needle is going to be moved. But we have to show that we are making a conscious effort to go out, reach out to the community, to advertise in certain journals, magazines, and so on, that we are conducting on campus certain activities to promote what the state wants us to promote.
So I know we're meeting the intention of what we are required to do by the state. So what I'm really asking then is, how will we then work as a college to really move the needle to accomplish
Well, if we
some of
look
those
at the
goals?
data, you will notice that the needle has moved significantly over the past several years. The needle has moved significantly in the hiring of African American, in the hiring of Latinos, in the hiring of Asians. The needle has moved in the hiring of women. The needle has moved significantly, right? And we need to take some pride in that, and the state recognizes it, and the state also looks at the official document that they're asking from us, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, well, hopefully we can do that. We can have a more in-depth discussion then when we do our goal setting. So thank you.
We can, if you want, at some point during the year or early next year, we can give you an update as to where we were 10 years, where we were 5 years ago, and where we are now. And it's hard to make a projection because in hiring there are laws that need to be
Sure.
followed. So, but all we want to show is that we are moving in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waugh.
I would appreciate it if you could get that presentation out, because that's a question I get frequently from my constituents. So that would be helpful for me to know those facts and be able to answer those
We should be able
questions.
to give a presentation on this by probably the February board meeting. By then, we will have completed almost all the hirings and so on, and we will have more significant data to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. The fourth action item this evening is authorization to transmit third quarterly financial status report.
Oh, this is a routine transaction that we have to do quarterly, and our recommendation is that the board approves this transmittal of the 2017-18 third quarterly financial status report to the Chancellor's office.
Thank you. Wishes of the trustees?
Approval?
Second?
We have a motion from Ms. Brown, a second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Items 5 and 6, Dr. Story has talked about these. The first is the transfer of funds to Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, Irrevocable Trust. Do you want to say anything?
Since Trustee Martin has worked very hard on this, I would want Trustee Martin maybe to make a statement on this before I ask Dr. Stoughty to give a brief.
I'm appreciative of the college for doing this, and it gives us an opportunity to get a better return for the institution and work through the whole process with the staff, and I'm very appreciative.
What's your recommendation?
I'll move approval.
Agree. Wow.
Dr. Stoughty, you want to?
So what's being recommended is transferring $10 million with this item, $4 million with the next item, into our irrevocable trust. And that allows us to earn a higher rate of return. Currently at the county, we're on a $14 million investment. We earn about $100,000 a year. At a very conservative 3%, we would earn about $420,000. And the fund that we're going into is a conservative fund, and over the past 10 years, it's averaged about 6%. So earnings is one part of it, and so we're going to be able to earn a higher rate of return, but also transferring into irrevocable trust reduces our annual required contribution for the liability, and that'll go down from currently it's about $4 million, probably be cut in half as a result of this contribution. So this is all the strategy that helps us earn a higher rate of return and reduces the draw on our general fund. So it's a win-win in multiple areas.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mr. Martin. I will second that motion. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we have the transfer of funds to public agency retirement services, PARS and STRS.
Dr.
PERS.
Story?
So moved.
Basically the same type of transfer in the amount of $4 million.
We have a motion from Mr. Martin, a second from Mr. Osterling. We did get that out.
Hilsman. Yeah.
Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now have 6 agreements that have to be approved this evening. The first is approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Pasadena City College Faculty Association.
I see the Faculty Association President, Mr. Mark Whitworth, and one of his executive team members, Ms. Mary Aaron Crook, in the audience, and I want to thank them for the work that they have done, working with college administration, with our negotiators, Ms. Beam, Dr. Story, in reaching this agreement. And it is an agreement that is fair between the college and the association. It is also an agreement that will help our adjunct faculty, and it is also an agreement that is helping us meet compliance in several other areas. And we do move that, we recommend that the board approves this agreement with the Faculty Association.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Hilsman, a second from Ms. Waugh. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So we had a request from Mark Whitworth from the Faculty Association. It's my pleasure to introduce him to comment on this item. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you, Board. I would just like to, as a representative, I'm the president of the Pasadena City College Faculty Association, and as a representative of over 1,500 faculty on our campus, we would just like to express appreciation on being able to get this done, get this behind us, and move on. I would also like to thank the district's negotiating team, all of those people that are involved, Dr. Storty, Dr. Juni, Vice President Beam, Joe Footner over here, he's trying to hide, and Dr. Verdian. But I would also like to express my deep appreciation for our negotiating team, which was Suzanne, our co-lead negotiators were Suzanne Anderson and Mary Aaron Crook, who worked endlessly and tirelessly. And it's a thankless job where you are never going to please everyone. But I kind of agree with Dr. Verdian. I think it's a fair deal. After seeing Dr. Storty's presentation, I think we probably could have got more, but we'll be back in a year or so. So I would just like to thank, and especially I would like to thank Dr. Verdian for his composure and his dealings with us. I think that at the end, when we got very close, he was able to really assist in the process, and I appreciated that. And I commend him for the work that he did. And I would just like to show our appreciation and go home and see my babies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The wishes of the trustees. we have a motion?
We
have a
have-
motion?
we just-
Okay.
we already approved it.
Okay,
This
thank
one
you.
we've approved.
Okay.
We're on to
Now,
the
I'm looking at
next
the next one. Approve the tentative agreement between Pasadena Area Community College District and the California School Employees Association.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Osterling, a second from Mr. Hilsman. Further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 10 is approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Police Officers Association.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We need to go back to 9, we skipped number 9.
Okay, opposed?
Going too fast.
Wait, I thought we did it.
No, we did 8.
Oh, we need to do 9.
9, we did 9.
Yeah.
Okay, motion is approved unanimously. Number 9 is approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the California School Employees Association.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from Ms. Waugh, a second from Mr. Hilsman. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 10 is to approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the, we
We've
did that
approved
one.
We did that one.
Number 11, approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Management Association.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Osterling, a second from Mr. Hilsman. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Finally, approve the tentative agreement between the Pasadena Area Community College District and the Confidential Association.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, a second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion?
It was Miss
Oh,
Exene.
excuse, Ms. Brown.
Ms. Exene.
Ms. Exene.
Got the second. She beat me.
Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 13 is the one-time 1% off-schedule payment for executives. I think we've gone over this, but do you want anything?
That's the 1% off schedule that was given to all other groups, and we need a board approval for the 1% off schedule payment for all the executives also. The executives include all the vice presidents, the senior vice president, and the other executive directors that report directly to the superintendent president.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Osterling, a second from Ms. Waugh. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. The second is the one-time 1% off schedule payments for superintendent president.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Waugh, or excuse me, Ms. Brown, a second from Mr. Osterling. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 15, approval of resolution number 585, declaring salaries indefinite for 2018-2019 fiscal year.
This is a requirement by the state and the Los Angeles County Board also that requires that, so that we can go back and pay back salaries. Otherwise, we will not be able to retroactively compensate faculty, staff, and other employees after we reach agreement on negotiations. So we recommend that the board approves it.
Move approval.
So I have a question. One says indefinite salaries and the item says infinite?
It's only for the fiscal year, so that we can go and adjust all salaries during that period of time.
Oh, okay. I see the item was just listed wrong. Okay, got it.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Ms. Brown. I'll second that motion. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 16 is approval of additions, deletions, and modifications to the current curriculum, or credit curriculum.
Dr. Juni, would you like to say a few words about this item?
This includes a number of classes that are they're either new or they're being modified, and there's actually quite a few that are being deleted as we clean up our catalog and our state inventory. And ones that are being deleted are basically classes that we haven't offered in many years, or they are being removed from various programs, either because they're not relevant anymore or they haven't been offered. And then there's a number of programs that are also part of this, modifications as well as some new programs. So if there are any questions, I'd gladly answer them.
Any questions? Okay, the wishes of the trustees.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Ostring, a second from Ms. Ishkin. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item number 17 is this-
Comment, Dr. Fellow. I was just going to say, I appreciated the Excel quick overview where you kind of see it all, real easy, and then you can always dive in on the other ones.
Thank you.
That was helpful.
Thank you, John. And before you have the superintendent president's contract that we've talked about. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Mr. Hilsman, a second, I will second that. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Hallelujah.
Item number 18 has been pulled. Item number 19 is the Shared Governance Task Force to recommend the process for superintendent president search.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Osterling, a second from Ms. Waugh. Further discussion? Student trustee?
Aye.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now for the information items, key performance indicators and strong workforce. We've already done that. Superintendent President's report.
We're done.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is sad that I must open another report in this way, but I would like to take a moment to honor the 8 students and 2 teachers who were shot to death last Friday at Santa Fe High School in Texas. Our entire community mourns the loss of innocent life in just the latest burst of senseless violence. Following our own active shooter drill earlier this month, our campus police and emergency systems are prepared to respond if such a tragedy were to occur on our campus. May we all hope that this mass shooting is our country's last. On a brighter note, I am sure that everyone here has already heard the very exciting news that PCC has yet again been named one of the nation's top 10 community colleges by the prestigious Aspen Institute.
Can we applaud at this point?
Oh, you could, yes. This recognition focuses on the success of our students who transfer to four-year institutions and also on our demonstrated impact in closing achievement gaps among underserved populations of our students. Our team is preparing to provide the Aspen judges with information and in-person interviews through the coming months, and we are already making plans for their visit to PCC. And strangely enough, that visit will take place the first 2 days of the fall semester, when we will have about roughly 4,000 brand new students on campus. So, and we are up to the challenge as staff, faculty, and administrators have reassured me that we will face this challenge without any problem. In the meantime, I hope that everyone will savor the recognition we have received for a job well done, and I want to thank everybody for that. Last week, we successfully transitioned the management of our bookstore to the team at Follett Educational Services. This new arrangement will lead to increased savings and convenience for our students and additional revenues for the college. We are glad to have Follett working for us, and we are exceedingly grateful for the hard work of our bookstore staff under the direction of Leslie Thompson during this time of transition. Our faculty hiring efforts continue to be strong. Following the board's action tonight, we have hired 22 faculty to date and continue to recruit for 10 spots. I want to send a sincere thank you to everyone across campus, faculty and administrators, who have made it a priority to complete these hires. It's a lot of work, and we sincerely appreciate these efforts. We have learned that we expect a record number of graduates at our commencement ceremony this year. thanks to a streamlined process and extended deadlines from our student services departments, an estimated 1,100 students will participate in this year's graduation, 300 more than took part last year. This is an outstanding development in our college's efforts to help more students complete their education and move on toward their goals. I just want to remind everybody that the 1,100 students will be coming to commencement, but we will be awarding 3,400 plus diplomas this year. And this is about 300 more diplomas than we awarded last year. And this is a major achievement and places us as one of the leading institutions in the whole state of California and in the nation in degrees awarded. As a reminder, commencement is June 15 at 7 p.m. in Robinson Stadium. And the next item that I want to go over is over summer we will be working harder to unveil 2 major new resources on our campus. You've heard about both of them from Ms. Salvatore Scumo, who talked about the Career and Completion Center, which will be located right next door. And that will house counselors, career advisors, and other staff dedicated to helping our students finish their studies and transition to professional life. We are very excited to see this facility come together and look forward to sharing more news in the future. Our other investment is in an Equity and Professional Development Center located in the C building. This facility will bring together our directors of student equity and professional development to provide a new space dedicated to enhancing professional learning among faculty and administrators with a concrete commitment to improving and advancing student equity. We are very much looking forward to having this resource available to our college in the months ahead. And I want to give a great thank you to Ms. Crystal Cole-Rose, who is the Executive Director of Research and Planning, who, I would say graciously, gave up prime real estate where she's located right now so that that area can be converted into this Equity and Professional Development Center. Ms. Cole-Rose, thank you. And this concludes my report. By the way, I will be on vacation tomorrow and Friday, making that a long 5-day weekend for me. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Footner, the only soldier standing.
I guess I get to talk for 45 minutes over here. Right, yeah. I do want to report to the board on activities that were related to our management retreat, which happened last Friday, the 18th. It was a very busy half day at the University Club. And the theme for the structured activity that was the center of this retreat was building trust through empathy. And the motto, if you will, came from Peter Drucker, that good managers don't think of I, they think of we. And I especially want to thank a relatively new Management Association member, Dr. Jason Robinson, who really, we leaned on him, and he put together the entire presentation, and he really did a wonderful leadership job with the group. We had a pretty solid representation, and overall, I think we were the general consensus that it was a very successful retreat. Also, we had an election, and we welcomed 2 new managers to the Management Association Board of Directors team. One was Javier Carabala Ramos, and the other one was Rebecca Cobb. So I want to congratulations to our new board members. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We'll turn to the student trustee.
Hello and good evening, everyone. The Associated Students Board elections took place several weeks ago, in which all positions are now filled for the coming academic year. However, special elections will be held for the position of student trustee with 4 candidates running. The new student trustee will be elected into the Board of Trustees and Associated Students by the beginning of June. Also, the Student Trustee Committee and I hosted a hygienic products drive, which was a great success. Many students donated hygienic products to help the Lancer Pantry, and we are planning on hosting another one before commencement. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Selvage.
There was an announcement, but I forgot to write it down, so I'll have to wait and see if I remember for everybody else.
Ms. Brown.
No report.
Mr. Osterling.
It's late, so I'll make my report brief. This is the time of year that I enjoy the most, being trustee at PCC because of all of the various ceremonies surrounding graduation. I've been to several already, and it's really inspiring to see the accomplishment of our students. And of course, the thanks go out to our faculty and staff that helped make that happen. And my only regret is that I can't attend them all, but I attend as many as possible. End of report.
Mr. Hillsman.
Nothing to report tonight.
Mr. Martin.
Nothing to report?
Ms. Wah.
Well, you know, I always have something to report.
Why is it?
Well, first of all, I want to, San Marino Rotary came to the Veterans Center, and we provided what we call career speed mentoring for the veterans. They asked for experts in 10 industries, and so we had speakers. One of the speakers was Ted Lang, who some of you may remember was a Isaac from the Love Boat, and it just happened that the following week, Love Boat got their star in the Hollywood Walk, and I want to thank Trustee Osterling for also participating in that. And I also want to, and this is Asian Pacific American Heritage Month too, so I hope you'll all get out and celebrate with some Asian person or go and eat Chinese food or something. And then I also wanted to really just congratulate Trustee Exian. You know, I always brag about how great our students are, but she really has been, and I brag all the time about what great leadership skills you show, but she was also accepted at UCLA before she decided to accept Cal, but she's going to be a great student over there, so congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And the last thing, and one of the things, for those of you who attended the Valencia conference, the CCLC, I thought it was really interesting that the College of the Canyons had the University Center, so I don't know if who all had a chance to see that. But one of the things that Chancellor Van Hook talks about is that College of the Canyons offers 40 master's and bachelor's degrees. And what they did was they partnered with about 6 universities who offer classes there, and the students never have to go to Laverne or to Cal State Northridge to finish their degree. They can take their classes right there. And the agreement is, but they have to take all of their undergrad classes through the College of the Canyon. So I thought that was really excellent. It was great. They did a really nice job. I know Magic Mountain wasn't on everybody's destination, but I thought they did a great job. And we also had our board elections, so I am the first president-elect for the CCC, so I will be taking my office next year. So thank you for everyone and their support. And my final request, President Fellow, is that we adjourn this meeting in memory of the Mount Sac trustee, David Hall, who passed away last month. And David was, he was the founder of the San Gabriel Valley Civic Alliance, and his dream was to bring together community, education, businesses to do things, so in partnership to really raise our communities, raise the votes for our communities. That's it.
And thank you, Ms. Waugh, for making effort to be here. Because I know you were flying today, and I also want to thank you for all that information about the workforce. I thought it was very interesting.
I failed to mention, also I wanted to recognize Trustee Exian. Not only was she a great student trustee, but she was a lobbying force in Sacramento and Washington, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I take a picture with the Board of Trustees when we resume the meeting, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You have one more meeting, too.
That's true, but I have
But we'll do it. We'll do it both.
She's going to ditch.
So that means she's not coming.
I want to bring her plaque back.
No, I will. I will come.
I'll take that back
She's off
for
to
now.
Berkeley.
Yeah, that was
Okay, thank you. Proposed future board meeting dates is June 1st, we'll have a special meeting. June 6th, we will have our regular meeting, and June 15th is commencement. Anything else to add? Proposed future agenda items.
We have 2 already that we mentioned today.
Right.
One will be the item on the workforce and all the data that we'll be providing after the budget, right, Dr. Story? All right. And then the second one will be on equity that we'll be presenting at sometime in February.
Yes. And then also, when we find out more about the digital college, how that then integrates with our OEI, so whenever you're ready. I think you said February or something.
Were you referring to the OEI and the?
The digital college.
Yes, we will. We can we do something on that, Dr. Juni? How long will it take to prepare that?
Let me make sure I'm understanding. So you want to know how the digital college will impact OER?
So, you know, the goal of the digital college is really to reach a cohort, I think, that is already, we know is already leaving and taking digital courses out of state. So if we have the 115th college, the digital college, the big question, I think, from faculty is how does that integrate with what we're doing in OEI? And I think that would be helpful to have a presentation on what we are doing here in PCC and how our OEI curriculum then integrates under the digital college, and then how does that serve our population in our district?
Okay, thank you.
I think we can do that probably by February or March of next year.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Wah. We are going to adjourn this evening in honor of Dr. David Hall, the longtime Mount SAC trustee, and in memory of the students who were killed in the Santa Fe School, Texas shootings. Please keep them in your thoughts and in your prayers. This meeting's adjourned.